Hello and welcome to Khurram Qureshi's podcast. I welcome you back. Today we have Elaine Daniels in our podcast from Oakdale Consulting, and she provides HR services and much more to her clients. So, without further ado, just welcome Elaine. Thank you for coming in Khurram Qureshi's podcast.
Graham, it's a great pleasure for me to be here. When we first met, I didn't think I would be here today, so I am really truly looking forward to this opportunity to share with you what I have learned in my journey thus far.
That's great to know. Thank you. And it wasn't too long that we met, just a few weeks ago, and this is happening so fast. So I'm really glad it is working out good for you.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely correct. And you're right. I didn't think it would be this fast, but I guess you have to go when things are hot. You just keep moving.
Got it. And that is my mantra for 2023. So keep it up.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm on your page.
Kindly introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and a little bit of your background, please.
Sure. So that's quite a story. That's quite a journey. My family immigrated to Canada in 1973, so we came here in November. And so as you can imagine, we left South Africa. It was warm, it was sunny, and we landed here and it was snowing 48 hours later. So quite a change for us, but nevertheless, we landed and we arrived in Ajax. And so my family has settled in Ajax for, coming up 50 years this year.
50 years, yes. I was going to say 73, 2023, that will be 50 years
50
actually,
years
in about 8-9 months.
That's correct. That's correct. So it's been quite a journey. My parents never left Ajax. I did. I went to live in Toronto for, I don't know, maybe 10 years of all of that, and then I came back. But so we started here. My dad was a cabinet maker. So being immigrants, again, you sort of have that feeling of, a young family and getting them started in life. And so as my dad was trying to look for a job in his field, wasn't able to land one, and so he sold vacuum cleaners for, I don't know, really, I can't recall how long, but nevertheless, it wasn't long after that where somebody gave him a job to install kitchen cabinets. And so here we are, brand new out of South Africa, and he is up in Peterborough in the dead of winter installing kitchen cabinets, and he's never driven in this kind of weather, but nevertheless, mastered the art of it. And so a few years after that, he decided, I don't like it when people tell me what to do. I'm going to start my own business. Well, he had more people telling him what to do because they were his customers.
Wow.
But nevertheless, he started his own business as a kitchen installer. He built kitchen cabinets. And here in the Ajax Pickering area, where he had his shop all those years.
Impressive.
Yes.
Impressive. I didn't know that. Ajax was developed 50 years ago, that much. I know the Ajax got municipal, label of the name as a town of Ajax, I think 50 or 60 years ago.
Just about shortly before we came. That's correct.
That's correct. So it was a great opportunity. It must have been like a total different town compared to it today.
Oh, it certainly is. So I am living at Westney Road and Kingston Road in the condo building up there. But when we came, everything practically north of the 401 was farms.
Wow.
So across the road from where I live now was an apple orchard.
Wow.
So yes, we have seen all of the changes. And ironically, my mom got a job in this very plaza where we are doing the recording from today here at in the Ajax Plaza at the Canadian Tire store.
True.
Which is now the Rexall drugstore.
Okay, I see.
So that's where my mom started working. So it's been a bit of a full circle to actually be here today and be talking to you, because it doesn't feel like I've gone very far. But I don't think I've gone very far at all.
One of the feeling, which is a good thing, and this is certainly a sweet thing about town of Ajax. I've been to the many cities, actually many countries in my life, but this particular town, I tell you, it designs such a beautiful way that no matter where you go, you don't feel traveling a lot, but you get to achieve a lot.
Yes.
The designing is good, roads are good, planning was great, and I always admire how the city was planned, especially, and they also got ISO 9001 as a first municipality in province of Ontario, and that reflects the city planner did a very good job on that. So bravo to the city planners of town of Ajax and the first couple of mayors, because that must have been very hard to do, but they did a good job.
They absolutely did. And then, of course, when they put a GO station in Ajax, it was the best thing because then I didn't have to drive that 401 any longer to get into downtown Toronto. So all that being said, Ajax has certainly, and I feel like I'm promoting Ajax, but that's because I'm here. It has been a town that has truly, truly served me well through the years.
Well, you're Egyptian. So am I. I didn't born and raised here, but my kids did, and we certainly love this city. And I served this as chairperson of the BIA for 4 years, and certainly has so much admiration of the town of Ajax. Seems like a small, but it has a lot to offer, and the town of Ajax council do a very good job as well. So all of the things and his staff works very well in coordination with the citizens and the businesses alike.
That's
so
right.
Good people, good heart.
Absolutely. And when I was thinking of going to settle somewhere after having spent a few years in Toronto, as I mentioned, it was like, I should just go back to Ajax. By then, it had developed, there was a lot more things to offer me. And so hence I came back, and I've thoroughly enjoyed being back here. 15 years, I guess now it's been.
Wow.
That I've come back. But my parents have always been here, so no matter how far I roamed around this globe, Ajax was always home.
There you go. There you go. So just talk about a little bit of your parents and the struggle, because it's often feel like the immigrants were coming, were the people from Africa or South Asia or China or the other countries, but you don't see Caucasian immigrants are coming and they struggle too. A lot of misconception is you don't go through the struggles like other races or other country men or women do. So just give a little bit of idea to our audiences, like the struggle is same, challenges are same for first, like immigrant to first generation, and you faces all and you have to deal with all, and now things change over the period of time. So just put a little bit of spotlight on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a very, very good question in reality, because everybody feels, it's sort of me, or it's my nationality or ethnicity or whatever. But, we faced exactly the same barriers that everybody else did. So, my aunts came about a few years after we did. And so the struggle that they had was, you don't have any Canadian experience, right? Correct. So that standard question that is still out there today, 50 years ago, that was the question.
Wow. I thought it was not going to be the case 50 years ago, but it was.
It absolutely was. And so that was, I think, my dad's struggle is, you've never, done anything in Canada as far as a cabinet making business is concerned, even though he had one in South Africa and was very successful back in the home country. Couldn't seem to translate that across to people here to understand that, I am capable, I do have the experience to do that. So that struggle was real. And then it was like, where are we going to live? Like where, we had come to Ajax, and the reason we came was because my mom's sister, my aunt and uncle, lived here in Ajax at the time.
Okay.
So we came here. And so where are we going to live? Where are we going to find a place that's affordable? Right? Because it's the same struggle. It wasn't different back then. Didn't make us, we were no exceptions to any rules. Is finding a place. We were fortunate to find a place in the south end of Ajax, townhouse. So, fortunate to find a place. I've got two brothers, could accommodate all of us, and was on the bus line. So, we could walk to school. Mom could go to work. Long sort of short story of that really is that the learning the new ways of life, it wasn't just because we were Caucasian, didn't make it easier or different, or there were no special rules or special privileges.
I see.
The struggle of coming, and I think I call it a struggle, but really it's a big challenge to come from a different country into a new country, learning new ways, learning the ways of the country.
Yes.
And one of the things my dad said to us early on, he said, the sooner you learn what it is that the Canadian way is all about, doesn't mean you forsake
You're right.
your homeland, the sooner you can integrate and the faster you can move forward. And so when he was offered this opportunity to install kitchens, and it meant going as far north as, Peterborough, he realized that there were Canadians who do that same thing here.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So people who do the kind of work he did, that's exactly what they did. So he wasn't looking necessarily to, oh my goodness, that's a long ways to go. I've never been up to Peterborough. I don't even know where it is, as a matter of fact. Right? So getting out that map, driving up there in the dark, going through these dark roads, he wasn't given any special privileges. They didn't say to him, well, but because, it was just, that's what you do here. And so eventually, I think what we learned as children growing up was that the quicker you assimilate, without forsaking who you are.
You're right.
Right? Finding those places where you can move into those areas where people can sort of see you like, you really want to be here.
True.
Right? You want to call this home. And I remember a citizen judge saying, whatever it is that you do, your home where you've come from will always be your home, but learn to love Canada like you loved the country you've left.
Beautifully. Nicely said.
Right?
Nicely
and I
said.
think as we went forward with that learn to love this country for all that it is, cold and all. And back then, we had winters that we don't see today anymore. So people are talking about winter today. We've seen winters that...
which were truly winters.
They were true
Up
winters.
north winters.
They truly
Now
were.
this winter feels like to me like you're just going for a uphill skiing trip on Northern California and coming back to Southern California. Day and night difference in a 12 hours drive. But I tell you winter, even for me just 20 years ago, the winter is just not the same as it was, and that put the spotlight on the global warming as well.
Yes.
That's why we all need to think about this planet. We all need to be thinking about green. That's why for the purpose of that, we put a green plant on this podcast as well. The growing plant on your side, and a little short plant on my side.
Well, that's opportunity.
So blessings comes to both our end, but that's what the message is. So really good to know you came here and settled in Ajax and called it as a final home, so which is very nice to know. And I'm great to know Ajax has grown and offers so much to a citizen and all that. And that's what the municipalities do. They offer a good environment and peaceful environment and all that. Libraries of Ajax are really good too. Welcoming and good parking and all of that. We should make a separate video on Ajax, to be honest.
Yes, we should. We should talk about all the things that have changed. But one of the things that I think and not to belabor, all of this conversation, but my parents only went back to visit South Africa once in all the years that they've been here. And it wasn't that they didn't love South Africa or love the people that they left behind, but they had made Canada their home.
Very nice.
And in all of that, it was like, as my dad, he's passed away now, but
sorry to hear that.
He said, I never looked back. I never looked back. He said, the day that I left, I left with this, that I was going to make it my home.
Very nice.
And so we settled here in Ajax, and he truly did. I mean, this is all that they've ever known. And if I asked them to move when I could come back to Ajax, I said, we should sell up and we should move. He said, where are we going? It was like there was no other place to go. There was no other place to go.
Wow.
So they never looked back. And I think that love for the town and for our country has resonated with our family. My brothers have never gone back to visit South Africa at all. I have gone, only because I love it because it's nice and it's warm. But they've never gone because, again, they've embraced this country, embraced, where they live. And it's just been a wonderful experience.
Very nice. Very happy to know that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Elaine, tell me about your first job. How was your first job? What was the experience, and what was the struggle that you went through in the start?
Well, that was a long time ago, because if I can talk about being in Ajax 50 years, and my first job was a long time ago. But it was a long time ago. I was actually, it was right out of school. I had finished high school, and my dad was ill at the time. So my mom said, well, I know we'd love you to go on to do further education, but right now you need to go and find yourself a job just so that you can help us out. So I said, oh, okay. Because I thought, well, money was cool rather than going to school some more. Anyways, I got a job. I had applied to several companies, and I got a job with a company called Marshall Macklin Monahan. So today they would be known as WSP.
Okay.
And they were acquired along the way. So today they're WSP. So I started with them, and the woman who interviewed me, so there was a couple of things that they were looking for really at the time. They were looking for somebody that could type and somebody that could take shorthand. And that was among a few other things, but that was a big criteria of the job because they had won a number of large projects. Oh, Marshall Macklin Monahan is a consulting engineering firm. Okay. So they had won a number of large projects, of which one was the development of Terminal 3 at Pearson International Airport. So I knew nothing about this. I was totally green, like this plant next to me. Like only thing I had was life in me. That's all I had. So I thought, well, you know what? I can do shorthand and I can type, and I think I have a decent personality. So I applied for the job, and so of course you have to go through the typing test and go through the shorthand test and transcribe it and all of that. And I was fortunate to get the job, and the woman who interviewed me happened to live in Ajax. And so when I got the job, I thought, now how am I going to even get to this company? And she said, well, I live in Ajax. So she said, I can certainly get you there every morning to work. But she said, you would have to get home on your own until you can figure out how to get to work at that time. So, I was 18, 19. So fresh out of school, right? I had my driver's license, but didn't have a car.
I see.
So it meant I had to come home on the bus, and so that wasn't quite so cool. But anyways, because the job was in Don Mills.
Okay.
But I loved my job because I've got to learn things that I'd never learned before. And so the job was that I was going to be the recording secretary for the project team. And that team consisted of the owner, which I think would have been the federal government because was the airport, or the airport's authority, I guess is what they called them then. The contractor, the engineer, which was Marshall Macklin Monahan, the architect, and then there was a representation out of the U.S. because it was an international, and it had U.S. customs because everybody was going to clear U.S. customs.
True. It has to be
here, right? Yes. So that was the representation, and all of the senior people would come to these meetings, and they were weekly. Okay. Project team meetings, and it was really all about the development of this terminal. So I got to learn about airside and ground side, and I was trying not to listen too much because my job was to just write.
Correct. But you have to know the industry jargon when you're serving it.
I did, but I was so curious about what I was learning and the design of it and the architect and, how they were going to build this building and how they were going to put these piers on to get how many planes to get to, so the idea was that the more planes we can park at the gate, the more revenue they're going to make, right? So
more traffic, more revenue.
More traffic, more revenue. And so then all the engineering and, the tunnel that was to be built. And then, the whole conversation was, well, we don't have money for a tunnel. And so I'm telling you the story now as though it was a story, but at the time I'm taking shorthand because what I actually had to do was take it verbatim.
Oh, I see.
I had to take it verbatim. I had to type it verbatim. And then from there, I had to type minutes so that they would actually, because we never had recording systems back in the day. I was the recorder.
Wow.
So the more that they would have verbatim, of these minutes.
Nice.
Right.
Just for the audiences, like, who born after 1990s or year 2000,
Yeah.
they will Google the verbatim, and you know what they're going to get? They're going to get the disc. 1.2 or 1.6 and be verbatim disc.
Yeah,
And I was thinking about that too. So
Yeah.
please enlighten me about what the verbatim is and where this analogy come from.
Oh, okay. So verbatim is a Latin word that basically means that you're typing word for word.
I see.
So so I'm taking whatever is being said in the meaning, I'm actually writing it down.
Wow, interesting.
So word for word. So it was more like the conversation, the dialogue
Yes.
that was happening at the time. And then from there, I would then type the minutes from that. So what was the point of item number 1, and then what was the action item? Right?
Interesting.
So that became then the minutes for each of those meetings. But the interesting part of all of it was to be there when the terminal opened and to have known that somewhere I was a tiny, tiny part of this. I mean, I was no match for any of the people who actually built it or designed it.
Absolutely.
But just that feeling
Yes.
that, some of this was my contribution
Absolutely.
to this massive project.
Truly, and I must be praising you that you were the part of not designing, but involvement in processing and development of Terminal 3 airport at the Pearson International Airport, which is one of the biggest ones in North America.
Yeah.
And happen to know that people needs to know how much planning goes into it before you see the actual product. So when you were typing that there was no recording devices, was it in 70s or 80s that all planning were doing? Because I believe Terminal 3 opens about 20 or 25 years ago, not too long ago.
So Terminal 3 opened in 1988.
1988.
1988.
Wow.
88 or 89. I joined them in 85.
Oh, wow.
So, and by that time, the project was approved and ready to move forward.
Move forward.
So I have no idea how long before that
Yes.
the planning had actually started.
Yes.
That, because again, there was all the approvals,
It's
all the environmental approvals.
yes.
Our dear Hazel McCalliam was mayor at the time, or
I was
if
gonna
she
say
wasn't
that.
mayor, she was definitely in council, and a very strong opinion about what
Yes.
she wanted in her city.
Yes, absolutely. I think she was a mayor back then, but
I think so too, if I remember correctly.
because she served for about 35 years, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
as a mayor of Mississauga.
Yes.
And the major challenge about to build the terminal was Mississauga was trying to have the terminal within their jurisdiction, but Toronto was saying it is our city, a main airport, actually major airport, because the airport in downtown Toronto, I think Billy Bishop Airport.
Correct.
It's not considered an international airport, even though they have some international flights, but it's a very, very small airport on Toronto Island. So reflect to that one. That is the mainstream terminal. So bravo.
Yeah.
That I'm feeling lucky actually that I'm interviewing and podcasting with someone that who lived so long in Ajax as a part of history and also contributed in verbatim
Yes.
of the note-taking process of the Terminal 3. It's ironic, and happen to which wanted to bring it to the spotlight. Also, the typing is a very big part of business communication because we type in the emails and all that. And one of the co-op students we take from schools and colleges, they don't have the typing skills these days, and the reason is because the school system thought it was not necessary. But when I sit down and I say noted down something, they were literally in the meeting trying to voice to text message. I say you cannot do that. I'm saying that I could have do it myself. So when you're in the meeting, you quietly type it or take notes. So minutes taking. So it is actually a good skill to have to know, and it's always help you
Yes. Yes.
move forward in the any job or business.
Absolutely. So when I was going through high school, not quite sure what I was going to do. And at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of sort of, what do you do as a woman, right? You can go into teaching, you can go into nursing, you can, go into be a secretary. And none of those really appealed to me. But my teacher at the time, she said to me, I know those things don't interest you, but she said, if you just take typing and shorthand and work in the office, she said, then if you're still not sure what you want to do when you finish school, you are guaranteed to get a job.
Very good.
Right. And so I took her advice, and of course it landed me that first job, which then took me on a career path that today I am so thankful for.
That's great. And back then there was also the demand for the women typist and notes taker. So they particularly prefer to have the woman. I don't know the history behind it. Why was that? But I think they're good listeners in office compared to home. So
I'm not going to go down that path.
Oh, you got it. No, okay, no.
Because that's my HR voice speaking. I'm not going down that path.
You got it. Just want to keep the humor up. So Elaine, very happy the conversation is going good. I hope you're enjoying the podcast as well.
I am. It's bringing back a lot of memories.
That's great. And those are good memories.
Yes,
and
they are.
We need to know, especially the immigrant families, needs to understand that everyone goes through the same struggle, if not less. And I just admire the fact that Canada opens up so much opportunity, not only to all over the world immigrants to come and live here, but also the people who go as a refugee process, like the countries where the war is invaded and all that. So bravo to Canada for that. So very good.
Absolutely, yes.
So when did you decide that it's time to move on from your job and to start the business? And please explain about the Oakdale Consulting.
Yeah. So let me just give you sort of a quick overview of how I got to start Oakdale Consulting. So as I was just talking about, my role in working in a large engineering firm, it then took me into working for a large engineering consulting firms, specializing in project management and in, the whole engineering sector. I continue to remain on the administrative side and project administrative side, and then started to realize that as much as I enjoyed the projects, and they were absolutely fascinating, and I have been privileged to work on some, of the iconic ones here, even in this city. So the Air Canada Centre on the CN Tower revitalization. So things that people can identify with in this city. But I started to realize that a project is made up of people, and it's made up of many types of people and many types of personalities of people. And so I started to learn that if you bring the teams together that complement each other, you get out a well-defined, well-run project. That then took me into HR. And so I realized, I'm quite interested in human resources, but I don't know much about it. I knew a little bit about it. So I went back. I then went to school.
Okay.
And decided that, let me go learn about it and see where it's going to land me.
Sure.
I then landed in Stantec, I guess. We were acquired, but we became Stantec. Landed there, and I started off in there doing some of their early, human resources assignment duties. So more on the admin side of it.
Okay.
Got into that, really, really enjoyed it. But what I loved more than anything else was recruitment. And so I then thought, I want to be in recruitment, but where do I go? Where do I look? So I started to look around and again landed a job in a large company where I was for many years as their corporate recruiter, became senior leader, manager in that organization. But by 2017, I had decided, by that time it was also personal reasons for me to take early retirement.
Okay.
So I did that, but at the same time, I wasn't ready to give up my career or give up the workplace or the workspace. And so I thought, well, I have lots of experience. I have spent a lot of years in a very dynamic environment, being engineering. And so that was July 2017, I took early retirement, and April of 2018, I decided to launch Oakdale Consulting. With the one purpose that I was going to serve the small businesses. There's lots and lots of, the large corporations have what I call deep pockets. So they can afford to hire the teams that they need to support them and in their businesses. But small businesses or small business owners or entrepreneurs don't always have that cash or cash flow, or even if they have the cash, they're not going to spend it on an HR service because it doesn't generate them revenue.
It doesn't generate the revenue. Plus, also, they don't have a capacity. Means if they hire somebody, the training and stuff like that, they don't have a capacity to do it. They only hire on demand basis, just maintain the course and go through internal training, although it's going to take long, it's going to take owners time to train it. But this is the gap we have in Canada. I serve as the chairperson of the Ajax BIA, and there was 130 businesses and property owners in my jurisdiction. And I tell you, that was the struggle. So when the COVID hits and the grants was open, they were to get the grant, but the criteria was you need to watch 8 hours worth of videos online and try to do everything by yourself. And from logo design to website design to PPC ad and all that. After just 5 minutes or 10 minutes of listening the consultant, how they're going to pitch it to my client, I say, how many people we have in our plaza don't even speak English properly. And there's nothing wrong in that, but they choose to start a business which required little to least English for communication, like bakeries, like barber shop, like salons and stuff like that. So with that, you need to revise it. You're putting too much burden on the people to do it. So it's absolutely important that we support the small businesses and understand their needs. And often the HR is the department which is not covered by the small businesses due to the fact they couldn't be able to afford it, A. And B is the big HR companies couldn't be able to focus more on the small businesses because they don't have repeated demand for the employees and all that.
That's correct. And that's exactly the gap I saw. Well, I'd seen it a while ago, but of course I was working in a large corporation, so it wasn't anything I could do about. But when I decided to launch Oakdale, that was exactly what my objective was. That for all of these small businesses that need what I call ad hoc, so, need you once in a while. I may not call you again for months. Correct. Because nothing has really changed.
Or years, maybe.
Right? So I need to hire a couple of people and then things are good. I need to get them onboarded. And then once that's done, I don't need help again for a long time.
Correct.
I need to have the worst case scenario, of course, of every owner, I need to let somebody go. Right? Yes. And they panic because there's so much, it's a legal process.
True.
And so doing it correctly is important.
True.
Doing it fairly is important.
True.
And so many people sometimes they don't do it the right way, and then it's costly.
Yes.
But how often does that happen?
True.
Right.
And it's not like, they wanted to do it incorrectly. They're just not aware of it. All the protocols and legalities to it.
That's correct.
Because a small business owner, and this is a gap actually, if I wanted to address it for a few minutes, and that they don't have a capacity for HR. They don't have a capacity to learn it, even though when they learn it all, its rules are changing. They need to have the legal counsel or the advisor on board. Then they don't have money for the legal counsel. So for that one, I also noticed that the organization like yours or any not-for-profit organization in the community needs to help businesses understand the HR needs and the complication hiring and firing the people, what are the responsibilities are. Accountants give you the basics one, which can cover you up to the point, but not in detail. And the lawyers, after 5 minutes of call, they say bill starts and the bill is higher. So that's what it is. So tell me, what other specialties your Oakdale organization do in the space of small businesses?
Yes. So in addition to providing sort of that HR service, I also do the recruitment.
Okay.
So again, they don't need somebody, they're not going to be hiring 20 people. They may hire 1, 2 in a year, every 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
So again, but I have supported that. I've supported people, again, locally, looking for plumbers, looking for mortgage agents, just, again, small, not big corporate titles. Yes, I also work on some of those kind of assignments as well.
Okay.
Senior level assignments. I'm working on some right now.
Okay.
Where they are looking for very strong senior engineers for to work in the underground structures space.
Okay.
But again, even that business, once I've helped them place those people, I may not hear from them for another year.
You're right.
So because they're a small company, right? They don't have that continual flow. So that's the struggle with small business. It's not the struggle. That's the opportunity that I see as a gap.
That's
where
true.
I can come in and out of these small businesses without them feeling like they've got to pay a monthly retainer. It's just when you need it, you call and you get a service provided.
Got it. So
Okay.
it is mainly on-demand services,
It's on
as per,
demand.
which is very nice to know, because most of the companies are not structured this way.
Right.
So it's good to know. Very
On
good.
demand. And then in addition to all of that, so as much as I offer, coaching and advisory service to the managers, there's always the employees that may need some help. So again, if I can help the employees with, some issues, employee relations is what we call it in HR,
Yes.
right? An employee could feel that in confidence they can talk to me about something. I can guide them through it. I can coach them through it again, and then just go from there. So that's sort of a little bit of the bucket of services, but it's really, as much as I can offer to a large organization, I feel that it's the small businesses. So, you talked about the small business. Well, a bakery, or the baker opens it because he wants to run his or her bakery.
Correct.
They don't want to run HR or
Correct.
accounting, right? They only want to do,
Yeah.
right?
What they do
What they
best.
do best.
Yes.
And so where I would like to say, where I come in, is to provide that service that let me do what I do best as and when you need it. And then every day you provide me with fresh sweets.
I
from the
love
bakery.
that. This is a very nice way that you put it on. Just let me do what I do best, and you provide me some sweets, cookies and all that. This is a good way to put it. Elaine, I must give you the credit. Do you provide any training to your clients?
No, in general, I do not provide training, as general training would be concerned. But what I do offer, or what I have done, maybe I shouldn't say offer, but what I have done is I've been invited as a guest speaker to speak, primarily to immigrant,
Okay.
what do you call them? Professionally trained immigrants, foreign trained. Sorry,
Foreign trained immigrants landed in Canada.
Landed
Okay.
in Canada. And so I've been invited by different organizations to speak to them about, and my focus, because I've been in recruitment, has always been about the job search, or navigating the job search, or what it is that, that all entails. So I've been invited to organizations to speak at, like here in the local region, the Durham Unemployed Community Service. So the welcome centers.
Okay.
Okay, through them. I've been, so Access is another program, and I think they have a connection with the Durham Region Unemployed here, as well as TRIAC. So those organizations are very geared to the foreign trained professionals, and I have been invited to present at those. The flow of that conversation has always been to help the job seeker navigate and understand how it is that they go about finding a job, positioning themselves for the job that they want to be. So I don't do training, but I have been a guest speaker at those events.
Okay.
And in that space, I was very privileged to have been a guest speaker with the Ontario Society for Professional Engineers. I was a guest speaker for 5 years. So I know I did 2 cohorts, so spring and fall, on their programs for their bridging programs.
Okay, I see that.
So not training per se, but offering it in a different way.
Educating them and preparing them, for the real world, especially the world in Canada.
Correct.
So does this lead to coaching or training for departments if you cannot do the individuals? Are you planning to connect with the individuals or the other organizations to providing some coaching or training to the departments?
Yes. So interesting that you would actually, considering it's sort of, I talked about HR and recruitment right at the beginning. One of the other areas, and this is through an associate of mine, so I don't do it myself, but I work with an associate, and she is a job search coach, very well trained, got all of, an immigrant herself, but studied here at George Brown, York University. So again, got her education here, but she is a coach. And so through working with her, so when people come to me looking for that service, I refer them to her, but she's more on the employment side of people coming. So again, we would go through understanding what they're looking for, helping them, position themselves as to what it is they would be wanting in a job, coaching them through mock interviews, salary negotiations, that whole situation. And just a bit of a win story on that. I had an individual who applied to a job that I had posted and wasn't qualified for the job, but he was looking for his first real job. I call it real job in Canada. Had come here, hasn't really been able to find a job that was aligned with his skills and education. He was a structural engineer. So I introduced him to my associate, and 4 sessions, I think. Yeah, we did 4 sessions with him, or she did 4 sessions with him. He was successful in landing a job in a structural engineering firm. So again, today he's on the path to being that structural engineer. He had come from Turkey originally, and so here he is today, making headway. So I don't know how you'd call it. It's not really training, but I think it's more on the coaching side.
Yes.
The other part of that I don't have, and I think it was something you and I talked about earlier, was entrepreneurs who come or want to come to Canada.
Correct.
So again, through my network, in the wonderful power of networking that it is, people just sort of find you somehow. Find people who want to come and set up a business here in Canada, or that's their aspiration.
Correct.
And then it's sort of, I don't know a whole lot about setting up a business, but I'm sure you do, because you've done, and you've done it way longer than I have. But it's finding people, again, as an associate, because it's not something that's my expertise. I'm the HR, I can do the assessments, I can sort of say the go, no go situation, but it's then coaching them of what it takes to be in business, right? It's not as, it may sound wonderful, but there's a lot of long hours that nobody sees when nobody's looking.
There's a lot of behind the scenes work. People see the show, but they don't see the prep time.
Correct.
And even for this podcast today, you see what goes behind it. Well, the team was setting up.
Yes.
Just 10 minutes took about 20, and 20 minutes took about 30. So definitely is a lot of unseen hours and efforts goes behind the scenes, but the satisfaction and outcome is great in the business, and the business growth is actually a little different compared to the job growth. And I'm going to give you a very simple scenario to understand. The job growth is whatever you do, it associated with your payroll, and if your time goes over, you get time and a half or double time, whatever his agreement was. Business works a little bit differently. When you start the business, you are one 1-to-2 ratio of 4 people. You're doing accounting, you're doing sales, you're doing production, you managing bookkeeping and all of that, PR and everything by yourself. So you're doing 4 or 5 people job. So ratio comes to 1-2.25 effort. But slowly, when the systems start to build, income start to come in, business start to grow, then goes to 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 1-to-3. Now Digipix have 1-to-7. So I'm remaining 1, the brand is remaining 1, but we have 7 different people working for us, and then the co-op training and other people's and a consultant like you are coming along. So that's also helping and working with us to grow our brand and their services too. So definitely doing business is always greater. Forecast for the long-term success, as well as government on all level of government, municipal level, regional, provincial, and federal level support the small businesses, because once every business was small before it become big.
Right.
So you have to start small, but definitely there's chances to grow big. And Canada is the greatest country to offer the business opportunity, but you have to connect with the right consultant who can be able to lead you and direct you in the right direction and start building the momentum for you to be successful and making business sense. And that is what the biggest disconnection is in a lot of organizations is they help you with the resources providing, but those resources are overwhelming and does not fit for individual needs. And when individual open up, it's just like is somebody else's experience trying to fit on me, it doesn't work.
Right.
So it has to be individual coaching, mentoring that we need to assess and work with the individual and their needs and their difficulties and challenges, and turn those challenges into solutions and providing a workable structure and formula for them to be successful and make money.
Yep. Yeah. And I think you've touched on something really, really important. So, every entrepreneur, they start out and they're 4 people in one, right? But the sooner you realize that you can't do it all.
Here we go.
And the sooner you realize that, hey, let me tap into the people around me that can help me, as we talked earlier about going in and out and on demand.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Gathering that a set of associates around you that all have the common goal, whatever the initiative is at the time, you all have a common goal. You no longer, for one, you're no longer alone.
Correct.
You have people to bounce ideas off of. You have people who you can say, oh, why don't you run with that? It's not my specialization. This is as far as I go. You run with it now and you take it to the end game.
Correct.
Right. And having I think, we talk about things in stages. And so, sort of stage 1, but we used to have 4 stages, and I won't go through it all today. But, the 4th stage is really where I've just talked about, is that trust, where you can honestly say, I'm okay with this is as far as I go. This is as much as I know about the situation. And I trust you to do the right thing with whether it be my referral or somebody we'll continue to work with together, but that you will do the right thing. And that's what I call the maturity, the stage 4, right? Where you've reached maturity in your business relationship or association relationship to just either work together or hand over. And so you talk about coaching and training, and there's so as I said, I have this associate who works on the job search side. So I take it to a certain point, and then I say, okay, after this I'm dangerous. So let me give it to you, because you can make sure that this is successful. Right?
Very nice.
And on this business side, I would do the same thing. People would come, they'd come for advice. Well, I can tell them how things are done in Canada. If it's say we're talking an immigrant looking to start an opportunity here. This is how it rolls. But this is as far as I know.
Good.
Or as far as I would know comfortably. Now let me hand it over to somebody who actually can take you to the finish line and be successful and fulfill all those aspirations you have. And that's what I call maturity. Like when you have, that's trust maturity, I guess maybe the word is what I'm looking for here.
That's the right word you're looking for. And business runs on trust. And every business and business owner, the right business owners, know their limits. And not every business can be able to do it all. Not every man or woman can be able to do it all. And the good thing that you realize in the business is this is where the real expansion happen. When you have the right team, right collaborators, right consultants, right partners working together, your business grow in the right direction. Without it, it wouldn't grow. I'll give you an example. If you see any movie about 30, 40 years ago, it started with only one title opening. Columbia Pictures, Universal Pictures, Paramount Pictures.
Right.
Now you see any movie 10, 15, or 20 years ago, opening titles, minimum 3, now 5, and I've seen 7. Columbia Pictures presents in association with partnership with, in collaboration with,
Right.
in distribution with, like so many things happening. So what happened? Companies are realizing it's not worth to expand and overexpand within their own capacity. Having different departments, managing them, payroll, HR, and all of that, it just slow them down. So rather than slowing them down, they say let's collaborate with the individual partners and vendors or suppliers and work with them to gain the efficiency. And your name is to the front, like hood of the car, but there are like literally about 300 vendors who put the parts in it, but you get to see General Motors, Ford, Chevy, and Honda, Toyota, Lexus brands in the front of the car, but there are literally like 200 to 300 vendors who produce about 5,000 to 7,000 parts in any drivable vehicle.
Right.
So collaboration is the key, but it does take maturity for you to get to the point that you are ready to offer it or ready to take it, because both connection needs to be mature enough in order to understand each other language and frequency. And when the mindsets meet, frequencies meet, and the ideas meet, definitely that you need to take a risk and move forward and have respectful collaboration final results. Most of the time they say we are not ready for collaboration and partnership. Nobody's taking over the ownership of the business, and neither the share of the business.
Right.
Your business is your business, my business is my business. But the thing is, by working together, we certainly can offer and complement each other brands and offer it more to the marketplace compared to less to the marketplace.
Correct.
And this is where the collaboration also works well with the semi-government or the government organizations too, or at least the department too. For example, you are doing an event, I believe, in the March 23rd.
That's correct.
Right? So see the collaboration of Government of Canada working with different organization on local level, municipal level, and then offering such a great program with the Ajax Public Library, I believe, like CDDC organization, another organization, and you are going over there as well. So speaking of which, why don't you put a spotlight on that event, please?
Yes, sure. So that event is March 23rd. It's at the Audley Recreation Center. It is a program that is, now I'm going to get this, hopefully I'm going to get this right, but it's run by the Durham Region, and it's a project on racism, but the focus is not on racism. The focus is on hiring diverse groups of people. So, Indigenous, different ethnic groups, different disabilities, right? So
Correct.
Broadening the talent pool, and so the opportunity is being given to exhibitors to come and present their services, and then inviting people to come and meet those exhibitors, people who will either have jobs to offer them or will be able to speak to some other services, like some of the things we've talked about here today, coaching, job searching, some of those things. Maybe there are going to be entrepreneurs there who have an interest in wanting to start their own business, right? So it's again trying, and it's all under this banner of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So that you start to empower these groups of people that may have felt disadvantaged, or maybe were disadvantaged, I shouldn't say felt, maybe they are disadvantaged or have been disadvantaged in the past, raising their profiles now And so the event on March the 23rd that's the objective. And I was invited to participate. I didn't even know this event was happening, but because of my involvement in the community, in the immigrant space, they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to participate. And so just quickly on that, I said, well, I don't really have a whole lot of jobs that I'm looking to fill right now. I don't have that many clients that are looking, for jobs. And they said, but you have been such an advocate of bringing, to helping people even understand what they're looking for and helping them how to look, that even that will be a value add. Just of the different types of people, because again, you don't know who you're going to meet.
Absolutely.
At these events, right? You never know.
You never know. So it's first, is good to go there. Second is just to offer hand, because one time somebody offers you hand when you started.
Right.
And as an immigrant, like in Canada, I can tell you, like, a lot of people help me out. So I will always remember them. And all those events are helpful to gain the momentum to help people out and support. But what I feel like the element is missing is mentoring and coaching.
Yes.
And that needs to be filled, because there are some organizations available in the Durham region, but mentoring and coaching on a personal level, because when you add complexity of language, complexity of the skill set, with the modern ethics and responsibility, and with the complexity of the health challenges and mental challenges, this is where employees are struggling at the workspace, and employers saying, what is happening?
Right.
For example, I get the co-op students. He didn't disclose it, like, he had some kind of spectrum disorder, nor does his teacher. So it was manageable, but I realized that he was slow. So first 2 weeks, I give him easiest task on his way. Do what you can do. Just show up on time, inform me before you leave, and then tell me what you did. 3 tasks. It was easy and understanding. He was making mistake, even those 3 simple tasks. And then 2 weeks after, I give him a little bit challenge. Last week that he worked like literally with 85% more capacity where he started just 4 months in the start of the co-op program. So what happened? I trusted him. I believed in him. I give him the extra space, time to understand that he is slow, but he can be able to make it. But I sit down with him. I coached him. I coached in the co-op hours, which is not listed on the MTEL logs, or the student logs, and they fill it out. But I just want them to know that I'm here for you. If you have any question about life or work in the business, you can be able to reach me out. You have my phone, you have my email, but do not hesitate. It's okay not to be okay. And men, and especially the young men and men in general, needs to speak up. And they're just holding a lot inside them and not getting their anxiety and the ideas out, which causing a lot of struggle and mental illness.
Absolutely. And let's go back to that question that you had about training. Do I do training? Well, I'm going to now go back and say yes.
Okay.
Right? In that I would be invited to come as a trainer.
There you go.
Right? So
yes, rather than a speaker only.
Rather than a speaker,
Yes.
and it's not that Oakdale Consulting offers training,
Yes.
because it's not what we do, but taking my experience,
Yes.
coming as a trainer, being invited
Yes.
to do a seminar or whatever the
Yes.
case may be,
Yes.
even to just the group of people that you were just referring to,
Yes.
again, opens up the space for people to start that dialogue.
Yes, and this is
Right.
what people need, especially in the community of Durham region, and this is what the whole situation is about. If I see you speaking good, I want to learn more from you. Right after speaking, you say, I'm not the one who's going to train you. Well, at least give me half an hour so I feel worth getting trained, and after the say, like, even though there will be assessment, right? And after that, you slide it on to somebody professional enough that they can take the lead from there. But do help them because they listen to you, they like you, and they want to learn from you. But all of a sudden, it's not my department. So I've seen the trainers, some coaches, like, hold it uptight. No, I'm not going to train. And I'm liking the fact that you're going back to the first question we asked, are you training? You say no, but now you're understanding and changing your mind. It's a good thing. So please evolve in your business idea and business approach and say, listen, I don't provide. So if I were to advise you as a consultant, I would say I'm not a full-time trainer, but I can be able to assist you as a half an hour to help you out. Once that is done, I will refer you to the right coach or trainer.
Yes, yes.
That way, you are not saying no to them, and at least have this saying of likeness belongs to you too.
Right.
Because the whole purpose is we want to serve people to the best.
Yes.
And that's what the ethics and responsibilities of Canadians.
Correct.
We are good people, we are a great nation, but we need to help people out to the right level. And this is what I feel missing in the business organization, connecting to the individuals.
Right. So let's come back to my audience, my target business audience is small businesses.
Sure.
Right. Small businesses do not have the capacity within their budgets, let's call it that.
Correct.
To provide, so they may have people
Yes.
in their organizations who are struggling
Yes.
for one reason or another.
Yes.
They don't know what to do with them, really.
Yes.
Or if they do, it's just a lot of work because it's taking away from being the bakery, right? So they would look, say, to, let's say, my organization and say, you know what? Or I would run a seminar, reach out to people and say, look, we're doing this. If there's anybody in your organization that you feel could benefit from a session like this, we're running them on Thursdays, whatever
Got
the
it.
case may be, right?
Yes.
So now you provide a vehicle for small businesses to say, oh, there is an avenue where I can shift these people to
Yes.
that will help them get on and become a better employee, help me because now it reduces my time that I need to spend with that employee to get them up to the efficiency level because it's taking away from my time to run my bakery.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you become this, we come back to the collaboration. We come back to sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so it's just that big circle,
Yes.
but being, again, networked. So do I do training? Yes and no.
Yes.
Do I do coaching? Yes and no, right? It all depends on the situation, but it all depends,
Yes.
again, on the people that you are in partnership, collaborative partnerships with that will lead where they need to lead on what they do best.
Correct.
Right.
Bottom line is we need to make people successful.
Yes.
People get succeed, they feel happy, profits are made by the companies, and people don't have mental illnesses.
Right.
So that's a combination that we need to provide, and that's why, like, I started a not-for-profit organization, ABC, and the objective is to fill the gaps where the other business organizations are not filling the gaps in that sector, to help them out to understand, realize the potential, and prepare them for the real world situation. And I tell you, like, the real world situation is the small businesses need some grants, but they don't know how to write the grants, for they don't know how to look, how to write, how to prepare, how to submit. So I met one accountant, he said, like, before even submitting, you need to make a relationship with the grant provider or donor. I say, what does that mean? Like, I know how to deal with the businesses, but I don't know how to make the relationship with that grant donor
Right.
or supplier or provider. They say, like, you just don't submit the application and expect it to do a magic. You reach out to them earlier and build the bridge and all that. I said that itself is a task. It's just like a task of HR. Like finding the grant and submitting is a task of. So all of those things we need to understand that small businesses don't have a capacity. So I'm grateful that you are providing a very valuable side of the small business that do not worry about the HR services. We're going to take care of it.
Yeah. And, my tagline on my business is, helping you move forward, right? So that's my tagline.
That's sweet.
And so whether you're an individual or whether you are a business owner or whether you, whatever the situation is, the tagline can apply
Absolutely.
to whatever the situation. You
Yes.
just talked about your nonprofit,
Yes.
right? So again, the tagline is we help you move forward
Very nice.
because that's really what we're here all about.
Yes.
Right?
And you can be the organization, department, Or individual.
Any of those.
I love it.
Because that applies clearly across the board.
Very nice. Impressive. You're impressing me every minute of this podcast, I tell you that.
Well, that was my objective. No.
Well, you're leaving a good impression on me, and hopefully our audiences are enjoying it too. So thank you.
Well, it certainly has been a pleasure.
So Elaine, please mention it to our audiences about the event coming up June. I know that you're planning it to be a very big, and you say that it is one of the major events for you to offer your services. So what is the event is about, and who could attend, and what benefits they can find to attending this event?
Yes, so the event is in June. It's being sponsored by the Canadian Immigrant. So it is at the Metro Convention Centre, June the 22nd. And it is really a job fair for, well, I'm going to say it's immigrants, but I think it's for anybody that is looking for a job.
Okay.
But it's really targeted towards the audience of people who are immigrants. Because there's, again, so many immigrants, and particularly even now, more so with the refugees that have been come in from the Ukraine, and I'm sure we're going to be taking probably in some others
Yes.
in some of the war-torn countries. So it's geared to them to come, and so I have acquired a booth at the event,
Okay.
and my aim is, again, not that I have that many jobs. I will have a few jobs to talk about at the time, but it's really to connect with the immigrants, to learn more about their stories, see how I can help them, and then, of course, within my network, being able to, say these are the people that have come, and, anybody out there in the community, in the business community, would be looking for the types of skill sets of the people. So again, it'll be a bit of work after the event to see who has dropped off their resume or have connected with me at the event, and then sharing those profiles within the business community of the types of people that are looking for employment within. So for me, it's really to be present, to represent the community. One of the things that I don't think we've ever really touched on is my passion for immigrants. I've been sort of working in this space or being involved in this space for a very, very long time. And so I just felt, now that I do have my own little business, I feel I can go out there and speak again from my heart. I'm not representing any other company, any other brand. This is my brand. And I can go there and be to those people who come. One of the things that I find is they're just so overwhelmed.
You're
so
right.
overwhelmed.
Yes.
So the opportunity of what I'm going to be there is one, and maybe it'll lead to some coaching. Maybe it'll lead to some people who want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be open to whoever comes to my booth.
Very nice.
And not sort of block it off and say, I'm, this is all I'm offering. But it's just to really be open. And again, as I said, my aim is to help people move forward.
Very nice. It's such a nice tagline, and you have such a good mission statement and the passion into helping the immigrants out. And they certainly needs help more than ever before, because they're coming, and I realized 2023 is one of the biggest years for the immigrants to come in to fill out the gaps we have in the workforce, and there's a lot of businesses looking to hire the people. The issue is when they come in, they are overwhelmed with the system, with the requirement, and all the details and everything. It used to be fix your resume, go through the ESL, fix your English. You pretty much land on the job with little to no Canadian experience. But now things got a little bit complicated. If company, let's say, hire you for the hybrid, you need to know in and out of the Windows operating system, as well as how to manage the Zoom meetings, how to handle the Outlook, how to handle the calendar and all that. And it gets overwhelming for the job seekers.
Absolutely. And that's exactly and that's where it just becomes such a struggle on top of settlement, right? So we forget that they're also trying to, as I talked about earlier, is settling their families and, under their housing and all of those things.
True.
Oh, and now they have to, find a job in not a very easy path.
Absolutely, and especially in today's marketplace, where employers are looking to hire, but they don't know where to look.
Right.
And resume, becomes the big thing. LinkedIn profile becomes one of the big challenge. So speaking of which, do you provide any resume writing service or LinkedIn optimization service?
So again, my answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, in that I know what needs to be in a resume.
Okay.
Having been a corporate recruiter, knowing what to look for,
Got it.
being able to tell somebody your resume is not resonating. So many people, they'll say, well, I've sent out 100 resumes and I don't get one reply. And I say, well, because it's not even telling a story.
Exactly. It's another commonality example that you can use to be not successful in Canada is because they're trying to do things which are not accustomed to.
Correct.
In Canadian culture or Canadian corporate structure, you can say. Even I heard when the resumes are received, people are no longer reviewing them. The OCR and the AI software is reviewing them.
Correct.
Processing them to shortlisting them to first 10, second 10, and third 10 kind of priority. So it becomes easy for the HR and the interviewer's perspective to sort them out.
Right.
Because they receive thousands of resume
Yes.
for for few positions of the job, so it becomes challenge.
Yep.
So resume writing is the key.
Yeah. So am I allowed to leave a tip here?
Yes,
for the
absolutely,
audience?
absolutely. Tip is always welcome.
So let me share a tip. So many times people apply to a job and they come to, and there's a bunch of questions that are asked.
Correct.
Do you have this? Do you do this? Do you do this? And those are screening tools. So, and people will get through that. Maybe they'll say yes, or they think that's the right answer, when the right answer could actually be no. Just don't always assume. But that's how you get screened in or out into the next stage. So my tip to people is, if you haven't really done that, be honest, because when you get screened out in the next stage, you might get screened out for a very long time because you weren't honest.
I see. What a nice way to put it.
Right?
Yes.
So again, for the job seeker, so here again, it's, do I do resumes? No, but do I know what should be in a resume and how it should resonate?
Correct.
With the, yes. You talk about LinkedIn optimization. So many times I see LinkedIn profiles and I look at them and I think they've said nothing and they've missed the opportunity.
True.
So I have what is called a full LinkedIn recruiter license, which means I can source people from the complete back end. I don't have to make a connection with anybody to find them.
I see.
As having a full LinkedIn license. Okay, that's something LinkedIn offers.
I didn't know this thing was even existed.
Yes, so I can source people without even connecting with them.
I see.
At all.
Okay.
But if I put keywords in for I'm looking for a certain job type
Correct.
skills. If you do not have it in your LinkedIn profile,
There you
I
go.
will never find you. I will never have an opportunity to call you.
Absolutely.
You may have that, but you may have missed the opportunity. Right? So again, so for the more mature job seeker, they know to do that. For the newcomer, they just don't even know how to begin or where to begin.
Correct.
Right?
And that is the fill in the gaps kind of situation.
Yes.
In order to be successful, you need to have fill in the gaps or a checklist. Like, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Do this first before you expect, emails coming back, calls coming back for the interview. And until you have that, just putting the information in and just submitting it, it's just not very helpful. I don't want to say pointless just to discourage people, but do your due diligence, connect with the professionals. The best advice is connect with the professionals, because if they cannot be able to do it, and you're right, you are giving a careful answer, what you can do, cannot do. You know how to look, but you don't want to writing the resume to fix it. I have a very good friend and colleague of ours. Her name is Doreen Fernandez. She's excellent resume writer. So if you're ever looking for me to connect you with her, I will definitely do connect. And also a friend, Hamas Siddiqui, and he is expert in LinkedIn optimization. So for those individuals who wants to have professional resume writing and LinkedIn optimization, we have the experts for that.
Right. And so we come back to our earlier conversation of collaboration and leading and following, right?
Absolutely.
So we seem to be going in circles here.
I know.
But it's a wonderful circle because, again, you come back to this. Sometimes it's my skill, it's your skill, it's somebody else's skill.
Absolutely.
And you just refer the person to the right
Yes.
I don't know if I have to call it expert because but the subject matter expert who
Very nice.
has that, they know exactly what needs to be in the resume. I can tell you what it should say, but I'm not the wordsmither.
You're right. Wordsmither are the
Right?
magicians.
That's right. So, but I can tell you when it sounds right and when it will resonate.
Yes, absolutely. And I will definitely plan to bring Doreen and Hamad in my next future podcast too. It just started and so many people to bring over
Yes.
to just shed the light on immigrants and to be successul on job or business. It just will take time, but I will definitely make the introduction of them to you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Good. If I ask you a very important question, what is the one thing, a few things that you want to see change in the HR industry in Canada?
HR is a big field and it's a very broad field. But I think the one thing, again, I come back to my passion of diversity. And so we talk about diversity, and we talk about equity, and we talk about inclusion. And yes, there's a lot that has moved the needle on that. We haven't moved it as far as we'd like to move the needle, but it has certainly moved the needle on that. But to see, I don't really care what size of business, but again, my specialization would be small businesses. To see small businesses bring in more of that diverse group of people into their business, into their business space, because I firmly believe that when you bring people in from different walks of life, different experiences, you create what I call diversity of thought, which then leads to innovation, which then leads to, back home, we did it this way. And if you thought about it as a process improvement, and it's not people don't want to say back home we did it because we were better, but it can help somebody here who might not have thought about that, or it's not even wasn't even our frame of reference. When you start to raise the profile of bringing in people from diverse backgrounds, I would like to see more of that and more of an openness to that. I know we talk about it, I know we're moving in that direction, but really to truly embrace that, where businesses, even in our communities here, are willing to take on people that have come from these other experiences, helps to raise the profile of thinking. Because I honestly believe that diversity of thought is what's going to take us forward.
This is a very good statement that you are saying, in diversity of thought. It should be a tagline for a company, diversity of thought. And I think that's what the diversity is about. Diversity is our strength. And people don't realize when you look at the California, for example, a lot of people going to New York have a different mindset, but why the innovation is coming from California? Because they attract the talent from around the world, and then they put it in a room or a building or organization and divide it into tasks and the team, and then they say, here we go and do it. And then when everyone puts their mind and brains together, they bring the references from their country, which is valuable to hear, because there's always a lesson to learn from different countries and different practices, and then adopt it. And based on that, you come to a good solution and innovative solution, which is not only acceptable in North America, but also worldwide.
Yes.
So we, as a Canadian businesses, need to think internationally. The issue is we are too cumbersome and busy to just working hard to make the ends meet, and just thinking about just getting the business set, get married, have a house, have kids, and then you're in 50s or 60s and life hit you hard and it's the end. It shouldn't be this way.
Right.
You need to work hard, not only for the success of your lifetime, but for the success of the future generation. And that's what all thoughtful people see, and they want to deliver. That they don't only see the future of only for their lifetime, but people after them.
Right.
Look, the people like who designed the Ajax in such a good way. Just see if you go like Harwood Avenue South all the way to the lake, how nicely it is designed. The entire monument is designed in a shape of a ship.
Yes.
I didn't even realize that until I took like aerial shot on the drone camera,
Right.
and I realized it's such a beautiful shot.
Yes. Yes.
So people who did work 50 years ago, you're getting the fruits now. So your work will have a fruits for the future generation. But if you don't even think about that and don't think as an individual, you cannot think big. You can think big and you will attract bigger deals over the period and the course of your lifetime of business and personal life. But you have to have a process, written it down,
Yes.
resonate for the goodness of the society in Canada, and then you will see the changes coming.
Absolutely. And, onto that, so there's the immigrants or the newcomers that are here.
Yes.
And then, well, maybe sometimes, they don't have, so let's take our trades, for example,
Yes.
as a segue to this. Maybe we don't have enough tradespeople, we haven't brought them in, but we can go and recruit them in another country and bring them in through a very easy process. Now, I say it's easy because I've done it enough times and I call it easy.
Okay.
But for the business owner that has to do it
Yes.
for the first time, it's such a daunting task that they just completely shy away from it. Right?
Correct.
So again, coming from where I say, oh, that's no problem. Because
Wow.
I understand the HR mechanisms
Very nice.
to make it happen. So again, a business owner would have a need, say not at the professional level, but some of the other services that we provide.
Yes.
We can go recruit outside the country, bring them in, they come in on this work permit, right? And so there's a process. Yes, there is a process.
So you're saying that you can be able to provide people outside the country work permit to work in Canada?
So I have a connection with a couple of immigration consultants that I would
Okay.
work with.
Okay.
So I would do the HR side of that equation.
I see that.
And then, because I'm not a licensed HR
I
immigration consultant,
Okay.
but I would then have them take over that side of
Yes.
the process.
I
But
see.
then there's the HR side, the recruitment side, the HR side
Needs to work together.
needs to work together.
So this is great to know because many people ask me like they wanted to come to Canada and they're good people, qualified people, and the businesses who are struggling, let's say chef, cook, or like a non-maker in
Correct.
in the Pakistani and Indian restaurant space, and they don't find the people here. And the people who born and raised here, they just don't have an interest into getting into those trades. So where do they get it? So I say, I just don't know. I know I'm the immigration consultant, but they don't handle the HR. I know the HR consultant, but they don't handle that. So it's good to know that Oakdale Consulting offers that service.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, such a nice name too, that consulting, that you can be able to have multiple services blend in as an umbrella of the services. And where the other organization like immigration consultant or business consultant like myself can be able to step in and work with you directly.
Correct. And so the thing that holds everybody back is called this labor market impact assessment, where they have to prove that there isn't a Canadian or somebody in the Canadian employment space that can do the job.
I
So there
see.
is a process to get that approved.
I see.
Well, in my corporate life, I did that as part of what we
I
call
see.
mobility.
I
So,
see.
right. So again, know the steps.
Yes.
Right. So that is, so where would I like to see HR go? There's a lot of good that's already being done here, a lot of opportunities afforded. We're at a very different point now with hybrid work from home. What do we
Yes.
do? Where do we go? Mental health is another big area that
Yes.
people are. It's not something that I would be able to offer because it's, again, person of one can't do it all, but I am certainly
Yeah.
connected within my HR network of people who can provide, because that's really where we're headed right now, is managing our mental health.
Yes.
Right, we've come out of a very difficult period. We're still in a difficult period.
Correct.
Don't even know what the future. We can't even map it
You're right.
now. So a lot of collaboration of working with other partners, whether they be within the HR space or other spaces we've talked about,
Correct.
is all encompassing for where I see HR, but I really strongly believe that if we truly embrace diversity, equity, inclusion, and that's for all people, not just immigrants,
Yes.
in all of the things we've talked about, it's really going to move us forward as a society, as a business society.
Absolutely, as a
Yeah.
business society, and just bring the empathy, care, and mindfulness. You make that society tend to be successful in business and in families.
Yes.
Issue is we not only need to make people happy and successful in business, but also in the personal life too.
Correct.
So this is also the gap that we need to fill, because the part of the reason the mental stress is up high, because people are doing well in the business, but they're failing in the marriages. And we need to understand marriage isn't going away, nor the business.
Correct.
So you need to blend in, and you need to have a marriage of those both combination of challenges, and need to work it in a peace and harmony situation. So definitely there's something good that you're doing, and I give you the bravo and the credit on that.
Thank you. Just last night, I met a woman, and she's a life coach. So I said, "What's a life coach?" Just to sort of tie this all
Yes.
together here. And she said, "Well, there's work, and there's home, and there's children, and there's, and all different little wheels." But she said, if all the wheels are not turning, and sometimes you get a flat spot, then the whole wheel goes out of
Yes.
sync here, right?
Yes.
And so she said, what I'm trying to do, because of my experience in life, is be able to help people see those different elements and which wheel is not quite turning like it should be turning.
Yes. Yes.
And then refer them to, again, the subject matter expert on that particular part. But sometimes people don't see all the parts.
You're right. You're right.
So you just talked about the different things
Yes.
that have to be together, right?
True.
Family and all those things.
Yes.
And so, again, there are people out there
Yes.
who have that view to the world. They're not specialized in any one thing. They've just stepped out of, a little bit away from the picture, and they see it in a different space, through a different lens. Maybe that's the way to put it.
Absolutely. I'm actually doing a podcast after yours, which is a health consultant. So he's health coach plus consultant. And what does that mean is he assesses your needs, and he can be able to directly tell you which side of the experts, health practitioner, chiropractor, physiotherapist or psychotherapist that you need in order to have that fix.
Right.
And we need those experts along talking with us, resonate with us, to give us a straight answer. Google is not the right answer for you. No. This is where the people are getting confused when they're seeing the Google, when they're seeing the YouTube. Most of I guarantee you, 80% plus information on the Google Plus is mainly outside Canada, because our people don't create a good, valuable content. We are shy to create it. We love to consume, but we not love to produce content. With that, it creates a vacuum that we have to watch the content outside Canada, which does not fit for our weather, our ethics, our needs and requirement, and the family structure and all that. And that when we apply it, we mostly not get succeed. And for that reason, we need to turn into the experts and say, listen, we have an issue, and we want you to be straight with us. Tell us what can or cannot be done. So yes, professionals are the right way to do it. And professional, by all means, they tell you too. I was asking so many things, they say yes and no, and can do it, cannot. That's the right way to say that, because yes, you can be able to see it, but you cannot be able to do it because you're not certified or qualified on some degree.
Right.
So that is a right answer to say that.
Yeah.
Elaine, do you offer the international job placement or the business adjustment in Canada if somebody wants to approach you?
I do. If a company is looking for a placement to recruit from outside, then I would help them. But, as far as what I do as Oakdale Consulting, I don't have jobs that I would place people from outside the country. But what I do is, if people are looking for a job from outside the country, then I would schedule a bit of time with them hour most times, because it takes a bit of time, to just have a discussion of what they're looking for, where they should be looking, and how they should approach the job market. So more of a sort of a pro bono service
Yes.
that I would offer to people. A lot of times they realize it's a steeper hill for them to climb than they first realized. But again, if a company is looking to recruit from outside of the country, then yes, I certainly do that. On the business side, again, a little difficult for me to be out there doing it because it's not always that easy. But if people come forward and say, because they found me through whatever source they find me, that they're looking to start a business or wanting to, do something in that line, then I offer advisory services for business owners. And right now I am actually working with a group out of Nigeria.
Okay.
There's 5 of them in the group, and they came to me through a referral. They were looking to start a business in Canada as a group. So we talked a fair bit about that, what was right, what was wrong, what would be best for them. We landed on the startup visa program. And again, not going to take time here to go through that,
Sure.
but it's something anybody can find on
see.
the website, on the Canadian government website.
I see.
It's a program that's offered through the Canadian government. It's a bit of a program. It's not just something that happens. But what I do is because I've done a few of these now, I can advise people on what they would be up against if this is something that they're interested in.
I see.
Takes a little bit of time to get that process going, but once people sign on to it, they go through a 21-week program, and then I work with an immigration consultant, coach them through, program manage them through whatever the case may be until they get their PR.
Very
So
good.
take them from practically start to finish
Very nice.
on this program. Find the right organization for them to work with that would suit their needs, what they're looking for. So more of an advisory service.
Yes.
On the business owner side, of course, it's a fee for service. On the individual side, it is a fee for service, but a lot of people after that first hour, they either realize, it's not something that they can do or even have the skills to do. So then I go back to my earlier conversation of, I always take their resume because I never know if there is a company that
Yes.
might be interested in them. And then, if they're willing to go through the work permit process, then I have a collection of resumes of people from outside of Canada, around the world,
You're
really, that I can connect business owners with and say, hey, I've got this person in my database. I've met them, spoke with them, they possibly would be a good fit. So
Very good.
I do that. And really it's more that offering a service in case of, somebody needing to. But on the business side, it's really clear cut. They're coming or they're not coming, and
You're
then I walk with them through the entire program.
Very good. So on the business side of it, if they needed help after they land or even before they land, they would need the business consultant. So this is where I can be able to help you quite immensely to your clients. You were also mentioning, like, if it's worth speaking, that you are working with some group in India as well to bring some professionals from there.
Yes, I was. So that individual, so I had gone to India
Yeah.
about 5 years ago. I visited India.
Oh, really?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. And I met this individual who wants us to be an agent.
Okay.
Work with me because, again,
Sure.
he said, we have a lot of people in India who are helpful, but he said, you're in Canada. So you are far more helpful because you're where we want to go.
Yes.
The people not anything wrong with the agents in India, but they only know what they know.
Correct.
They don't know what they don't know.
People on the ground always have more information than people are not on the ground.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Now, so unless those people have come here and learned more, so him and I have worked together. We've, brought people forward. Some of them are still not sure because they understand the process, but that is really what we do. And I would love to have more people like that in
Yes.
different countries
Yes.
where I work with them. So they work it in their country and then they bring them forward. I have that conversation, and then again becomes a win-win.
Absolutely.
Or people become informed, better informed before they make a decision and then find out, oh, this is not really what I thought it was going to be.
That's correct.
Right.
Because I think half the battle is to get a clear picture before you even land here. Like, what is the reality check will be.
Yes.
And somebody can be able to say that. I think this is very helpful. It is all fairness that they need to know the clear picture before they come here and feel a little bit frustrated that it's going to fit for you or not fit for you.
Right.
Good.
Right. Or that you really have what it's going to take to continue to push through the challenges.
True.
Right. And understand them. Not that I know them all, but certainly coming from an immigrant, being first generation,
Yes.
I think there's a lot of things that I can say this with authority.
Yes, absolutely, and we should
Right?
listen to the people like you, right? We like this is what my main mantra was when I was in college, university age. Be a good listener. You will learn it, and speak when the timing is right.
Yes.
There will be time when you're going to be a good speaker, but until then, listen well.
Right.
So you can learn well, practice it well, so then you can teach well.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
My next question to you is, what is your vision and mission for next 3 to 5 years?
Well, if we don't have another pandemic,
I hope certainly not. I hope certainly not. Everybody else did.
yes. My mission, where I really want to add value is to continue to be the provider, provide that HR and recruitment support to the small business owner, to do more of that, to see more of them become more successful so that they can be successful and then leave, the administrative HR stuff to somebody who is and willing to do it on an demand for service basis, right? So I would like to see more of that for myself. And then certainly to grow and develop the coaching side of my business with the individuals and with the business side of, again, I'm not the coach, but certainly have those collaborative partnerships with people like yourself or the ones I've met who do the other more specialized coaching. You're more of a business coach. I'm taking.
That
right?
is true.
So build those relationships and really solidify them
Yes.
so that as people come to me, and people, again, LinkedIn is a tool that everybody uses, and I get all kinds of questions
Sure.
about all kinds, or conversations just lead me into, I'm somewhat curious about people that I tend to ask a lot of questions. You've been asking all of them to me today, so I'm kind of on a bit on the hot seat here, but
But it's a good opportunity that somebody's asking, and that's why, I started the podcast to listen to people beside the business and all that. Listening about you, your personality. You put the spotlight about the town of Ajax, which I didn't even know, the information before. So that's what the podcast is about,
Right.
to get to know people on their level and have mindful and true conversation.
yes, and I think being in Ajax and having been here, I know there's a lot of small businesses in our town, and so again, being connected with the business partners in the town would certainly be something that I would like to see build more and more, so that again, I'm more of a business player in the town, rather than being always on the global stage or always working for those large corporations where I have spent so many years.
Yes.
Who know me.
Yes.
And know my reputation.
Yes.
It's to build that within the community now and leverage that.
I give you some assurances, not guarantees, assurances that if Digipix start to work with you, we'll definitely take you international and very soon. So you can count on us and depend on us that we are certainly going international this year ourselves. I'm starting to get the clientele in Michigan now. So there's a lot going on in our company. And we need to think outside the box. And again, certainly we cannot do it alone. We need the professionals like you to grow each of their brands.
Right. Yeah. And and it's so true. I come back to, none of us have come to where we are because we've been islands.
You're right.
We've come to where we are because we've had mentors and coaches and people who've supported us and believed in us.
Yes.
through the years.
Yes.
And, now it's our turn to give back.
Yes.
So continue to build, but also to give back to others to do the same for them and then
Yes.
leave behind a legacy.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's all about that, leaving behind the good footsteps
Yeah.
and the legacy so people can follow and track and pray for you and wishes good for you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the questions people ask me, can you be able to place a mentally challenged, autistic kid or Down syndrome kid into the workspace and all that? As you know, the small businesses challenge to have that proper training division or anything like that. So for that, I have started a not-for-profit organization called ABC, Advanced Business Connections. And the purpose of this organization is we reduce the stress of mental stress at the workspace, as well as provide the businesses the tools and the resources that they need to take on special challenge kids or people with a little bit of mental health issues or physical issues or any challenges they have. Do you want to put some spotlight in your career or experience, or you want to connect with those organizations to fulfill some needs? As you also said that you're meeting some lady on Monday to talk about that. So please give some insight about it.
So interesting that we kind of, we've gone quite the spectrum of people in our workplace today. And so, yes, I am meeting with an individual next week, and she works with immigrants, really, who are mentally challenged. So they're here, and they're adults, and so they're on whatever spectrum they are, and so helping them find jobs and placements. There's a couple of organizations right now that have contracts with some of, like Costco and Longo's and some of those firms where they place people into those positions. So I was very curious when she mentioned this, and I said, well, let's explore this more, because, if we can work together, her and I, and find these companies that are willing to take on, these individuals, we will support them. There's a lot of wage subsidies available to small businesses to take on these types of employees. To, again, it comes back to that diversity, equity, and inclusion statement,
true,
right?
True.
So again, giving them the opportunity to, be engaged, have a purpose to get up every day, right? Go out and do something meaningful, adds great value to people's lives. So we were going to actually be brainstorming as to how we can do this together. So she's got the expertise on one side of the table and I've got it on the other, and so how do we position, how do we position these people? She's got the people and the coaching skills to help them on a daily basis. And then of course, finding those, employers that is willing to take this on. She brings them with, the wage subsidy programs that are available to offset the cost for our small businesses, right? Because that's always a cost.
Yes.
Right? So how do you offset that cost? And the government has lots and lots of programs out there. She's got the expertise on that. I can help with the positioning of it. So again, a collaborative partnership, particularly geared to people with disabilities.
Very nice. And this is definitely something I would like to know the outcome to of that meeting. Please include me in your notes as well, and do introduce me to that person if she sees me fit, because we need to know more about that.
Yes, for sure, yes.
That's good. Do you want to add on to anything before we wrap this podcast?
I don't think I need to add anything. I think this has been just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to, one, talk about what I bring to the workplace, but also as we've continued our discussion, there's been just a lot of collaborative ideas that have been tabled in this podcast today that see, Oakdale and Digipix working together. Sometimes you lead, sometimes I lead, sometimes, sometimes neither one of us lead. We just simply are a good referral out. But again, it's that collaborative nature of what we can bring to businesses locally, within the region.
Yes.
Right? You talked about going international. I've certainly worked on the international stage,
Yes.
for lack of a better word.
You already met somebody in India, so you already, did it.
I
Very
have,
nice.
and part of my portfolio when I was corporate was I looked after North America.
Okay.
So I did.
That's great.
Right. So again, very comfortable in that space, but it's realizing again that as we've been curious about each other through this podcast,
Yes.
there's been a lot of conversation that has come forward that I think there's a great benefit
Absolutely.
in how we're going to do it. That's a different story, but
Yes.
we'll take that when it comes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So please tell us your contact information and please speak clearly. So when this podcast goes in audio, people can be able to write the information.
Elaine Daniels, Oakdale Consulting. My phone number is 289-314-1392. My email address is Elaine, ELAINE .Daniels, DANIELS at Oakdale Consulting, and I'll spell it OAKDALECONSULTING.ca. My website is www.oakdaleconsulting.ca.
Perfect. Thank you, Elaine, very much for attending this podcast. You really made me happy and enlightened me about so many things that I didn't even know about the industry, Ajax, or so many things. So thank you very much for attending.
It is my pleasure. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Same here.
Okay.
So audiences, hopefully you enjoyed this podcast very much. Please like and subscribe my YouTube channel. I also want to say special thanks to the Work Hub for providing us this recording space. So thank you very much for it. If you like to be in this podcast and have something special to offer to the marketplace and business in Canada, I'd like you to attend our podcast. So please contact Digipix via phone and email. Our phone is 289-275-2147 and email is contact@digipixinc.com. Thank you and have a great day.